Hey everyone, really excited to be sharing this new training with you. I'm calling it Growth by Numbers because essentially what we're going to cover today is going to allow you to accelerate your growth over the next 3, 6, 12 months like you've never done before. And I was exposed to this a few weeks back now, maybe a month ago. And since my eyes were opened, I've read countless amount of books on this. I've talked to two people who sold their businesses for over $100 million. And really, this is the key to building an empire. And as we go through this, I think you're going to see why. And I think it's going to dramatically change the way you do business. And I'm so excited to share it with you. So let's dive in. Essentially, the key to accelerated growth is simply to know your numbers. All too often, we act on impulse and we don't know our numbers. And that's really not the best way to operate, although we can be somewhat successful, and many of us have built incredibly successful businesses this way. In order to go to the next level, we're going to have our finger on the pulse. Okay, why is this so important? Essentially for 5 reasons. Number one, we know how far you are from your goal. So depending on what your goal is, whether it be number of clients, whether it be a certain amount of money that you make, knowing our numbers tells us exactly where we are along that path and how far we have to go. It also allows us to pinpoint and manage the key issues being problems in the business. After all, if we don't know what's going on, we don't know where to put our focus. Okay, and so it allows us to really narrow down, and you'll see we go really, really narrow with this in order to know exactly what you should be spending your time on. And when you can strategically manage your time and invest it in those things that are going to bring you the biggest ROI, your business is going to accelerate at a rate that you have never seen before. Thirdly, basically it allows us to discover issues before they become a problem. And what this may be is, if we believe we need more traffic in order to make more sales, but we drive that traffic and we don't know, we're not tracking our numbers, and the traffic doesn't bring us more sales, we don't really know why that's happening. Maybe it's the conversions of the squeeze page, maybe it's the conversions to the strategy session form or the sales page, maybe it's the autoresponder follow-up system, maybe it's our upsells, depending on what business you have. Essentially, there could be so many different problems, and this, knowing your numbers allows you to essentially see exactly what's working and what's not working. Okay. It also allows us to quantify our success and failure, and actually give us data on the things that we should be doing and the things that aren't working that we should be fixing. Okay. And lastly, it gives us unbiased feedback. And unbiased feedback is something that's very important in business because oftentimes we operate from our gut instincts. And of course, the problem with operating from our gut instinct is sometimes we actually have our own thoughts on topics, have our own ideas that don't match with actually what's going on. And so when we know our numbers and we can see statistically exactly the process that is happening in order to go from prospect to client, we can then start to deconstruct that and really work backwards in order to have what I would call the most optimized funnel possible, without spending time on things that aren't going to bring us those results. Okay, and so again, it's about focusing your time on those things that bring you maximum ROI. So really, the question is, what should we focus on? And essentially, there's just 3 things. Okay, there's our assets, and an asset is being something that builds the valuation of our company. Okay, and we'll cover this. We're going to go into each of these in more detail here as we go. But essentially, an asset is something that builds the value of your company. And this is how you get to a valuation of, 10, 20, 50, $100 million without necessarily generating that in revenue. And so if we're looking to bring in investors to, bankroll bigger projects, or we're looking to sell, assets are so important. But even beyond that, just to be able to say that the company's valuation is, 50, 100 million, is a very powerful positioning when you're being a coach, consultant, or an expert in a certain field, and people are coming to you for business help. The bigger your business is, of course, the better that looks, the more credibility it gives you. So assets are very important. KPIs are our key performance indicators, and this is what's going to tell us what's going on in the business. And essentially, this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of the day-to-day and the weekly numbers. And I'm going to show you guys how to exactly to do that and to break that down so that you can monitor literally every single thing that's going on, and then that way maximize your funnels. Okay, and lastly is the SMART number. And the SMART number allows us to focus on the things that matter, the things that are broken, that need fixing and need your attention, and allow us to see the things that are working so that we can either do more of that, or we can simply let it ride while we spend the time focused on the things that need our attention. All too often we'll be spending times on things that don't need our attention. If our squeeze page is converting at 50-60%, there's probably not much we can do to it to make it that much better, especially if we're driving cold traffic. Now, if you had a 4% squeeze page conversion, obviously different case. But when you have an extremely high conversion on the squeeze page, the last thing we need to do is be testing and split testing on the squeeze page if it's taking our focus away from something else. Maybe that's getting more traffic, or maybe it's converting the opt-ins on the back end over to customers. And so again, our SMART numbers will give us basically one big number to focus on, and if it's up, then it's good to go, and if it's down, we know it needs attention. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's talk about assets. All right, I mentioned earlier, assets are essentially things in your business that build your valuation. And so, your Facebook page is an asset. Your email list is an asset. Your website traffic is an asset. Your active customer list is an asset. Your cash flow is an asset. So basically, anything that can be sold would be considered an asset. And so it has to be tangible, okay? And it has to have value to someone else. So knowledge that's in your brain is not an asset, but your product suite would be an asset. Okay, so these are important things to know so that you can build these out. And of course, the more assets you have, the better. Content is an asset. The more content you have out there, that's an asset. Okay, especially if it drives traffic. So keep these things in mind, because with our business models, especially if we're doing the big ticket business model, we're not building that many assets, okay? And so maybe we need to look at that and look at how do we build a more rounded business with multiple assets, or focus on the assets that we have to maximize the valuation of those, okay? KPIs, mentioned earlier, these are key performance indicators, okay? So we have the asset, let's say the Facebook page, okay? The real asset of the Facebook page is not the number of likes we have, but it's the number of people engaging with that Facebook page. Because again, when you're looking to sell a business, or you're looking to get a valuation on a business, the thing that the person who is going to the thing that the person's going to be looking at in order to give you that valuation, or to give you the proposition in terms of a purchase number, is really going to be those people who are engaging. Because it doesn't matter how many people liked it. What matters is how many people are responding. How hot is your topic? How hot is that market? Okay, so if you've got 20,000 fans, but only 200 are responding, that's a big difference. Whereas if you had 20,000 fans and you had over 10,000 people responding, on a monthly basis, it's worth a lot more to that investor, or to the person looking to purchase. All right. So again, what we're looking at when we look at number engaging, and is new likes, percentage of people engaging, the total reach, total paid reach, and then posts. Okay. So basically, what I mean by that is the number of people engaging okay, is made up of these things. All right. So when we're tracking, what we want to track is how many new likes do we have? What percentage of those are engaging? How many of those have come from organic? Okay, and how many have we paid for? And then how many posts are we making? Okay, and we track this on a weekly basis. Okay, so let's say, you know, on a weekly basis we had 100 likes and we had 20% of those people engaging. All right, and we knew out of that you know, 3% was organic. The reach was 3% of our total list. Okay, but if we pay, we have a, you know, a bigger reach. Let's say we have, you know, with paid, we have, you know, more like a 17. We get the 17%. So our reach is coming from 3% organic, 3% paid. On average, we're posting 5 posts a week. All right, we can start to look at, okay, you know, every week, do these numbers continue to grow? You know, based on the same effort, or do we need to post more? Do we need to do more paid traffic? Okay, in order to, and how does that affect the new likes? How does that affect the percent engaging? Okay, so bear with me. We're going to go through multiple examples here, and we're really going to break it down as we go. So don't worry if it still seems a little bit foreign. Trust me, it's all going to make sense by the end. Okay, email list is another asset for us, and of course, again, active subscribers are what's actually valuable on that list. And so our active subscribers, the numbers we need to look at is new subscribers, the percentage of those that are active, the delivery rate, the value per lead, and then the unsubscribe rate. Now all of these things play a role in this active subscriber list, and just like I was talking about with the Facebook page, we can track each of these weekly and make sure they're continually to go up. So how many new subscribers do we get a week? How many actives do we have? How many delivery rate? Now, let's say we have a week where our active subscriber number drops, okay? Let's say, you know, we're floating along at 30% active subscriber list, and then one week, you know, we only have a 20% active subscriber list. Now we can look at these different things. Well, how many new people do we get? How many of those were active? What was the delivery rate? Maybe something went wrong. Maybe an email got dropped into spam. Okay, you know, and then what was the unsubscribe rate? Maybe you have a ridiculous amount of unsubscribes. What caused those unsubscribes? So quickly we can see, okay, what happened? Why did that number change? And we can keep track of that. So again, you would have a spreadsheet for this, and you would keep track of it. Okay, Website, again, monthly unique visitors. That's the number of people who are interested in. So we want to track, you know, how many unique organic visitors we have, how many people are interacting with our, you know, with our posts, how many comments we have, you know, what's the organic subscribers, so those that are coming through, you know, non-paid sources, and then what's the organic revenue in terms of how much money are we making, you know, from the organic subscribers. And you could, if you're running paid traffic here, you would have those numbers on there as well. And then of course content produced, how much content's on the website, because if 1 month we produce you know, a piece of content every day, and we have an enormous amount of visitors and we have an enormous amount of subscribers, and then the next month we produce half of that and all of our numbers drop, then we can see the correlation there, and again we can focus on producing more content. But if the content isn't affecting the traffic, then we can focus on better content versus, you know, more content. So quality versus quantity. And these are all things, again, you know, we will see these numbers and we'll be able to track on a weekly and a monthly basis so we can make sure we're heading in the right direction. Okay. So let's look at the big ticket KPIs. So for those of us that are running the big ticket model, all right, essentially our asset is really revenue. It's active customers. It's our revenue, monthly revenue, I guess, is a better way to put monthly revenue. All right, and it comes from traffic, opt-in rate, strategy request, and close rate. And you could add a couple more things in here if you wanted. If you're getting traffic from organic things, you know, like a blog or something like that, you would add those things in here as well. But essentially, these KPIs affect our asset. Okay, so these KPIs affect our revenue. And so if 1 month we drove a crap load of traffic and then the next month we stop driving traffic, of course, then we know to ramp up our traffic. If our opt-in rate's down, We know to change our squeeze page. If the strategy request forms aren't getting filled out, we know we need a different plan there. If the close rate, we're not closing our sales, we know we need to go back and work on our objections, work on our overcoming, the fear of the sale, so that we close more people. And these are all things we can say, okay, what do I need to focus on? Not always is it going to be getting more traffic. Not always is it going to be getting on the phone with more people. All right. And again, if we had bridge videos and things in here, we would track those. How much traffic do we get to those? How many people watch the video, click through the video? How many people then opt in? And we'd want to know all these numbers so that every week we can see what we need to work on, what's working, what's not working, and so we can spend our time focused on looking at our funnel and fixing or improving the things that aren't getting us the results that we need in order to reach our goals, our revenue goals. Okay? So all of this is brought together with one number, which is a SMART number. Okay? So you track your KPIs, but you need a SMART number, and the SMART number tells you whether you're on track or off track. Okay? So if we look at the big ticket model, okay, the asset is the revenue, but really cash flow is the SMART number. Okay? Cash flow is what we want, because if we're making a boatload of money but we're spending a boatload of money, although we have revenue and that's an asset, we're break even, so that's not a very smart thing. So again, the SMART number is cash flow, which is revenue minus cost of advertising. All those KPIs affect that. All right. So what you need to focus on is, okay, let's look at my revenue every month, and let's say you have all these things up and you're tracking them, and your revenue is going up month to month, okay? You don't need to spend your time necessarily on working on traffic or opt-in or strategy requests or close rate if you're on the up and up, if you're constantly on the up and up. However, if month to month it's a roller coaster, you're up one month, you're down the next month, you can go in and start to break this all down so you can see why is this happening and how do we eliminate this, or how do we at least prevent it, so that we have that steady stream of increase in our business. Because essentially, unless we're making progress month after month after month, we're going to have those times of frustration. We're going to have those times where we feel like nothing's happening, and we want to essentially eliminate that, and so that we're always growing, we're always getting bigger, and we can expand our business into other areas to really maximize the revenue that we're bringing in, the people that we're helping, and the impact that we're having on others. Okay? So here's where things get a little bit tricky. Okay? Because we've covered a lot of numbers that you would need to track so far, but that's really not where it ends. All right? We have to dig deeper, because unless we go deeper, we won't know what it is we need to do. All right? So although we'll see that, hey, I got more traffic this week than last week, unless we go deeper than that, if traffic is down, spending more money doesn't equal more traffic always. So we need to know, what are the things we can do? And so basically, we have our big ticket KPIs that I mentioned. Okay, it's revenue generated is the asset. The SMART number would be the cash flow, which is revenue generated minus ad spend. All right, the things we're focused on is traffic, opt-in rate, strategy requests, and close rate. All right, what we need to do is break this down even further. Okay, so each KPI has an environment. Okay, each environment has a conversion point. Each conversion point has conversion triggers. Okay, and we're going to go through an example of this. So, if you're taking notes right now, don't worry. We're going to dig, and we're going to dig deep. So, lastly, each conversion trigger has a treatment or has split tests that can be run, or things that can be improved. Okay, so again, big ticket KPIs. Asset is the client's revenue generated. KPIs, traffic, opt-in rate, strategy, requests, close rate. Okay, those are the four things I think are most important. You may have a couple more on here based on the way your big ticket funnel is set up. All right, but let's break this down. We're going to look at traffic. Okay, we're going to focus on traffic and we're going to dig. All right, So our environment for traffic, for most of us, we're running Facebook ads. If you're running something else, just do this with your traffic source. But for most of us, we're running traffic from Facebook. Okay? Now on Facebook, the traffic that we get is made up of more than just the ad, right? We have ads, we have posts, we have images, we have videos, all right? This is where our traffic is coming from. And you may be doing some, you may be just doing one or two, but this is essentially all the places we can get traffic from Facebook to our offer, our squeeze page, our strategy form, our opt-in funnel, okay? So those are our conversion points. Now let's take a look at this individually. So the conversion points of these four things. Let's take a look at the Facebook ads, okay? So one of the conversion points is Facebook ads. Let's break that down. The Facebook ads have trigger points, and this is the things that cause the conversion, okay? We have the page image and name, okay? So when you make a Facebook ad, especially like a link URL or a picture post or anything like that, it's posted from the page. Just like if you post from your personal page, they see a picture of you, they see your name. When you post from the page, it does the same thing. So you have the image of the page that shows up, the thumbnail, and then you have, of course, the title of the page, okay? So depending on what you've called your page, it's going to have an impact on your conversions, all right? So, of course, the only problem with this is we can't really change the name. I think you can change it one time on Facebook without having to request it. But we can change the page image, okay? So this is a conversion trigger point that we have the ability to change. We can change the post text, okay? The post text is essentially the headline that shows up on the ad or above the video, above the image. It's that first thing that shows up. We got the image that we can change or the video that we can change, okay? The URL that shows up underneath, if we're running a URL advertisement, or the URL that shows up in the description, you know, is it a bit.ly URL or is it a unique URL? What is the keyword in that URL, /free training, /free strategy session versus just, you know, bit.ly /7xyz, all right? Then we have the name. The name is what shows up under the image. I guess it's kind of like a footnote of the image. And you can, again, you can change that to say different things. And then we have the description, which shows up, you know, next to the image or underneath the image, which people can read. All right. So all of these things are trigger points. So we have control over each of these things. Okay. Now each trigger point, of course, has a treatment. So let's go back to the page name and image. So again, keyword of the name of the page. So when you pick your name or you create your name, you know, are your keywords in it? So, you know, is your offer matched to the title of your page? And obviously, if it's just based on you, you know, do people know, you know, that you're an expert in whatever? So instead of just having your name, you could have your name sales expert, your name marketing guru. Okay, so again, that keyword there. The design, the image, this is the design of the image. What is the image? You know, is it eye-catching? Is it you? Is it a face? You know, is it your logo? What is it? We can change the design. We can change the color of the design. And of course, we can give it a border if we want. All right, all things that make it stand out a little bit different. I've seen some people doing some circle images instead of a square. And of course, that stands out because it looks different than the other Facebook images for your profile and for pages. All right, so those are our trigger points for the page name and image. All right, let's look at our trigger points for the post text that we talked about. All right, so the post text, like I said, is essentially the headline. All right, it's that first line of text that shows up. And really the treatment we have is the angle of that headline. All right, it could be have a news angle. It could have a guarantee. It could be a how-to headline. It could be a benefit headline. It could ask a question. It could give them a reason why they need to take action. It could be a testimonial headline, or it could be a command headline. All right, and if you guys don't know what these are, just Google search each type of headline, and you'll get examples and everything like that that you can add to your swipe files. All right, but essentially we have 8 different ways that we can write the headline or the intro paragraph for our ad, and most people don't think about this stuff. All right. Next, we have the trigger point for the image. Again, design, color, border, and text. All things that we have control over, okay? Angle as well, it should be on here. What type of image is it? Is it a personal image? Is it a stock image? Is it an eye-catching image? Is it a out there image? What type of image is it? All right, so the angle of the image should be on here as well. We have the URL, like I mentioned, domain name, subdomain, domain extension. These are all things we can test and change. Maybe the word free doesn't get the biggest response. Again, we got the name, which goes underneath the image. Again, we got keywords, the length of the name, the angle of the name. Again, go back to our headlines that we were talking about. All those different angles we can use. The description of the page. We got keywords. The description of the image. We got keywords. We have the length of the description. We have the angle of the description. We have the call to action. Okay, are we asking them to click the ad? Are we telling them to click the ad? Are we telling them to get more information? What is our call to action? We can test all of these things. So again, it's our trigger point. Basically, once you have this, you rinse and repeat for each of the conversion points. Okay, so essentially what you're going to end up with is you're going to have your KPIs, and then you're going to take your KPIs and you're going to break them down under the environments with the conversion points, with the conversion triggers, and with the treatments. All right, so essentially for each thing you have a list of stuff that you can test, and you can change, and you can make better or fix in order to improve your business. All right? And like I said, those smart numbers that we have, okay, those smart numbers are going to be the key in terms of what we dig deeper on. All right? So if your close rate, if you're studying a close rate, and you're closing 1 in 3 people, or 1 in 5. Let's say you're closing 1 in 5 people, and your revenue is going up every month. Then yes, you could spend time on your close rate to improve it to go 1 in 3, 1 in 2. But if revenue is going up every month, maybe it's just a case of getting on the phone with more people. How do we get on the phone with more people? We get more traffic. So we don't need to dig deep. But if our close rate, if we're not closing, okay, we could take that close rate, we can break it down. So the environment obviously is the phone conversation. If we're having a phone conversation, the environment would be a sales page if we were selling from a sales page, or a video, or whatever. And then we break the call down into its segments, and we focus on what's happening throughout that call, and where are we losing the sale, okay? Where is it we're not digging deeper on, and what is the scripting we can change, or the sales copy that we can change, or the point of the video that we can change in order to give us better results. All right? So, this is everything you need to 10x your business in the next 12 months. All right? And I know a lot of you, you're probably thinking right now, wow, this is a lot of stuff. But the truth is, once you have this mapped out, you have it all in front of you. And it's just a case of plugging the numbers in every week or on a daily basis. All right? And it's not that hard. It's just looking at analytics, looking at your Facebook traffic, making a note of how many calls you have, how many closes you have, how many strategy sessions you have come through. And of course, the bigger the business, the more parts there are. But most of us have a very simple business model. And so we should easily be able to implement this. All right? And I honestly believe that if you implement this, you will have results like you've never had before. And essentially you can choose how much money you make every month, based on the lifestyle that you want to live. So, that's it. Like, that's everything in a nutshell. I'll give you guys the slides to this, and we continue to talk about this. But, if you have questions and everything, please post them. And let's really start to implement this as a group and, see the impact it's going to have. Because from everything I've seen, everything I've read, And just a short amount of time that I've been, consciously aware of this and started to implement it, man, things have shifted. And I'm applying it to, the companies I'm working with. I'm applying it to my own business. And it's like, knowing what to do every day is now not a question. Knowing what to focus on is not a question. And so in terms of where should I be spending my time, should I make content? Should I, try a different ad? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? It's all being answered based on the numbers. I don't have to think. All right? So remember, this is going to tell you exactly what's working in your business, and it's going to tell you what's broken. Okay? It's going to tell you, and lastly, it's going to tell you what to fix and how to fix it. Because if we have our, all the way down to our treatments, we'll know exactly what to do and what to change.